Hi there everyone, it's Helenique Argeru here, and we are taking the discussion of narcissism and empathy a little bit further today, where we talk about really the Enneagram typology and how the Enneagram explains very specific types of narcissistic behavior. Now, there is a profound system that was discovered in the 13th century by a man called Gurdjieff, which really goes deep into explaining the way energy moves in the universe. It's a mystical teaching that really reveals the numbers 1 to 9 as very significant in understanding how we can position certain frequencies, happenings, occurrences into 9 positions. And this strategy of understanding the way the universe is working was then studied by a man called Oscar Sanchez and later by one of my teachers called Dr. Claudio Naranjo, and extrapolated, interpreted into human behavior and personality. And the neurosis of your character has been then very well understood according to this strategic way of understanding energy and experiences, as a scattering into 9 different positions. This is called the Enneagram. A really profound symbol has been designed and therefore explains how the Enneagram really deeply explains the human experience of creating an ego and of actually developing this ego as a neurotic defense mechanism from childhood experiences. Every single person has one. No one is exempt. It's almost like the physiological situation we have in our bodies, where we develop certain membranes around certain organs and we have certain protective devices around our physical structure. The same is true in our personality. When we've been through injuries and difficulties, woundings, complicated experiences in childhood, maybe full-blown trauma, maybe just really difficult emotional situations which we don't know how to understand as children, we develop a certain kind of protective membrane, and this is eventually the way our ego gets constructed. Now, this ego can become really problematic in adult life because it begins to believe some crazy ideas, it begins to distort reality, and it starts to tell us that we are something that we are not. We are way beyond what our ego believes. We are much grander. We are so many more things. Reality is a scattering of so many more possibilities, happenings, and occurrences than what we in our egos believe is possible. So really being able to shatter this neurosis, to be able to heal the injury in childhood, all the wounds and the difficult moments that we didn't understand how to process, when they get processed, we begin to find our true essence. And so today I wanted to share with you really a few more facts about how the toxic narcissistic personality manages to present itself in this neurotic defense. And if you are dealing with any one of these types, you will know that you really need to work on your tendency to please other people and or your vulnerability from childhood of feeling comfortable in some strange way with someone who's dominating you and maybe even potentially abusing you. What is it that created that situation for you in childhood, and what did it make you feel? Yep, you have to go down into the deep, dark, muddy feeling place. Uncomfortable feelings need to be released. All the repressed emotion needs to be understood visibly and needs to be healed so that you can actually become liberated from being in the presence of such types of personalities. Now, this very important thing that the Enneagram shows us is that there are 9 different types of ego defenses, and each one of these can be manifesting in 3 different ways. One is in a way of preserving the self, which has a lot to do with connecting very specifically with things in daily life that reinforce your physiological survival. And the second one is having a preference for one-on-one relationships that help to repair and heal this injuries that we've had in childhood. And the third type is having a social type of defense system in one of the 9 types of Enneagram type defenses. And this social aspect is really where we are needing to heal something about the community, the sense of belonging, and our social identity in life. Now, as you've already heard, it's quite complicated. So I'm going to simplify it down to just 3 types of toxic narcissistic tendencies or defense systems in the Enneagram, so that you might recognize if you are related to one of these, or if you yourself might even be one of these. It's time to do a little bit of work. So the first one is the number 1 on the Enneagram, talks very deeply about the policeman defense mechanism. This is actually a defense where we tend to assume a number 1 personality defense system. The ego of a number 1 assumes that they are the policeman and that they need to hold a certain moral code in life. They have a certain kind of self-righteousness, and they are very focused on correcting the behavior of other people and keeping it up to standard. So a 1 can struggle very much with having a unique expression outside of themselves, or having someone who wants to do it their way. In other words, a number 1 in the Enneagram is someone who really struggles with allowing people to just be who they naturally feel they need to be. Another type of ego that can present itself in a toxic way as a boss or a manager or someone in a position of power is the number 3. A number 3 on the Enneagram is very concerned with achievement, very concerned with their own self-image. So in the myth of Narcissus, the whole idea of being in love with oneself shows up quite a lot in a type 3 neurosis, meaning that the type 3 is very concerned with proving to the world that they have value. And proving to the world that they have value means that their achievements, their accolades, and their attempts to have certain things prove that they are valuable is really the primary focus. And so a boss in that position could be someone who is really mainly concerned with the achievement of his company and his work at the expense sometimes of others. So the third type I want you to think a little bit about now is the type 8. Type 8s are exemplary of power. They can bring a very powerful leadership quality to the Enneagram, and they are really concerned with possessing, owning, and having very specific justice done, and sometimes at the expense of someone else's free will, or someone else's uniqueness, or someone else's originality. So a type 8 can present themselves very much like Fidel Castro did, and type 8s can become toxic in really only being concerned with power, just like the 1 becomes toxic in being really only concerned with certain standards of behavior, very much like a type 3 can become toxic in being overly concerned about achievement and accolades. So this might be an opportunity then for you to think if you are dealing with a boss who is in some way or other presenting you with a certain kind of attack or criticism or micromanagement that relates to one of these 3 types on the Enneagram. And if you want to stay tuned for the series that I'll be doing webinars on Wednesday nights on the Ennea types, and more deeply than that, the way that we incarnate into this body, create this personality, create this ego, and actually how we are all, no matter what our neurotic defenses are and no matter what we deal with in life, we are all searching for our true essence. We want to know our originality, allity, as in the origin of you is really the most profound way for you to get in touch with your true essence. So the roots of your life, your ancestors, your origin, your culture, your source, your birthplace are all clues to how you are truly unique and truly powerful in life, and that you are really everything. And this origin of you, this essence of you, merges with all that is. So I call that your original self. And there will be some very profound teachings on this subject. Like Antonio Gaudi says, originality is a return to the origin. And this origin is the source. And the Enneagram is the tool that takes us back to the source of our existence. It helps us to see beyond the crazy ideas of the ego, to shatter the false identities that we've created about ourselves and what's possible. It helps us to understand that everybody we are dealing with in life that has conflict with us is also on the same adventure to find their true nature and to connect with their original self and their originality, their uniqueness. But somehow the ego gets in the way. And so these events and teachings are going to be very much helping you to navigate through the labyrinth of lies that we tell ourselves, through the self-deception and through the misunderstanding that our ego has about really what this life is about, and helps us to really get in touch with this source of our essence. Thank you so much for watching, and if you need any help with your own struggle with narcissistic personalities and or yourself, you can get in touch with me by signing up to the website www.ahaintelligence.com, and soon we will be meeting each other in person, I hope. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.